Now, a virtual data center is just like a physical data center, except you don't have to go into the data center and pull wires and log into switches and routers and servers in order to configure and deploy applications. Instead, we're going to create our applications in the visual editor. We're going to drag and drop components from a standard catalog, and they're things like normal middleware components like firewalls, load balancers, VPNs, databases, web servers, etc. They're all normal software, and you can create your own catalog appliances as well if you like. Once we have our components, we're actually going to network them together. Now note, we're not pulling cables, we're not logging into switches and routers. We're telling the system what we want to connect to what. This means that every time we deploy our applications, they're deployed perfectly every time. No misconfigurations, no forgetting to deploy, to create a firewall hole, no forgetting to create a subnet in the router. Now once we've created all of our networking, the other thing we're going to do is we're now going to start configuring our components. Now this is something that in the physical world doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's where a lot of errors actually occur. So now we are able to actually, without knowing what's inside, we're able to start giving resources to individual components. So for here I'm giving a web server a certain amount of memory and CPU and bandwidth. And the system will then allocate that. I'm also able to specify properties, again, without having to log into the component. And now we're going to go ahead and create a volume. In this case, it's a code volume to put our data on. And here we're able to do this again within the editor, so I'm not using multiple tools. And now I'm able to assign that to the web server, and now my application is done. Now once I've done that, now I can do something that's very unique. I can now configure the application as a whole, not having to deal with all the individual components inside of it. So here I'm able to give resources to it, give IP addresses to it, and now I can go ahead and actually start this application without knowing anything about what's inside. Now the beautiful thing here is it gets started perfectly every single time. Again, nobody can make a configuration error because the system is doing all of this for us. Now that we've started our application, we can open it up and we can see that we can actually do things that we can do with a normal application. So here I'm going to log into one of the components. It's a standard Linux prompt. We're also able to set up monitoring, so we're able to actually monitor and set traps and alarms for our applications as well. Now we've been using one virtual data center, but there's no reason to limit ourselves that way. In fact, we can have multiple. So here's one in Japan, here's another one in the Netherlands. And in fact, our applications are packaged so well and virtualized completely from the data center that we're able to actually move applications from one data center to another. And I don't mean one piece of software, I mean entire systems that may take up hundreds of servers. And here we're able to actually now go in and give a few new IP addresses to this particular application, tell the new grid where we're actually going to get it from. In this case, we're getting it from the Dallas Virtual Data Center. We're going to move it into the Netherlands. And we're just about done here putting in new IP addresses. Now it's going to go ahead. There's a secure handshake between the two systems to make sure that they're allowed to do this. And now it actually goes and starts moving across the data that's actually part of this application. So it's not just the running system, but we're getting all of the data as well. So when our application gets to the Netherlands, it runs, and it runs perfectly. So let's go ahead and open it up and just take a look at it real quick. And there's our application. You can see it's exactly the same application that we created in Dallas, only now it's in the Netherlands. Thanks for listening.